So the reason I say I'd recommend taking this wheel off, even if you're not rotating your tires, you're gonna see it right now. I'll show you why it's good to take that off, even if you're not doing a tire rotation. So if you look in here, this is our oil filter, okay? The only challenge with the oil change on this vehicle is that this support bar is right under your filter. So I'm going to show you how I deal with that. A bunch of other people have their own ideas. I've tried putting cups on there and little things to catch oil. There's just not enough room to get it in and out of there. So I have my own way I've developed that I'm satisfied with. And then from the ground, we'll get you a better shot. Let me just show you now where the oil drain plug is located. So coming up under your wheel here, you can still see that blue oil filter for reference on where we're at. You can see this support bar. And then down here, there's your oil drain bolt right there. So that's our oil drain bolt. That's our 17 millimeter socket right there. So we're gonna change our oil. All right, so I got my plastic sheeting down. Again, I'm gonna put links to everything in the description. I put a lot of effort into thinking everything out for you, so please check the video description. So here's what I do. I cut a piece of plastic sheeting that's thin and long. And I just come in here and I just accept that there's gonna be oil that drains out of that filter that I'm not gonna be able to stop. So I take my plastic sheeting and I protect as good as I can this metal bar right here. And then I just wrap it around. It's not the easiest to get in there, but it's not that hard either. It just takes a minute, literally a minute. And then once I get it in there, I kind of spread it around where, you know, I'm protected all the way up here, all the way down to here. And then the other thing, I have a special Honda oil filter wrench that fits these, but that's no good on these vehicles because you can't come in from the bottom. So I recommend this type, this swivel gripper. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the description so you can get the right size, because there's so many sizes. It's a pretty small filter. So remember that when you loosen, you want to turn it counterclockwise. So you got to think about that. You don't want to put this on this way. You want to put it on this way. So to get that off of there, I'm going to slip that in like that. And I'm going to loosen it like that, okay? And before we do that, I'm going to get my oil drain pan and get it under there. Also, one of the things that I do to help me on these jobs, I'm in South Louisiana, and you know, when I got in my car after work today, it was 100 degrees in my car. It's in the 90s all the time. We're in the evening right now and it's still in the 90s. So when you put these gloves on, your hands are gonna sweat like crazy. And so the first time you get oil on them and you take them off, your hands are soaking wet with sweat and you can't put any more on. So my wife came up with the brilliant idea. My wife, who's also our videographer, she says, why don't you put 3 pairs on to start? And then when you get oil, you just take off the outer one and you got more, and you know, brilliant. So that's, I got 3 pairs of gloves on. I'm sure I'll use all of them. So, because every time I change the oil, no matter how hard I try, I end up, you know, getting oil somewhere. And so I got this plastic sheeting down. I'll put this under there. Get it positioned where even if that splatters, we're gonna catch it. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove my oil cap all the way for airflow. I don't want to rest it on there. I'm afraid it's gonna fall. So I'm just gonna set it right there. I'm gonna loosen my dipstick so that there's some airflow there. Okay, so I have my new filter ready. I took some new oil, put it on my finger, and wiped this black rubber ring so that it's ready to go. So what I'm going to do is, it's going to break this free until oil starts leaking out, and then so yeah, I can go ahead and get this out. Sometimes I can, sometimes it starts leaking before I get it out, but that keeps that clean. One less thing for me to worry about. So now, by hand, I can grab this thing. It's gonna start leaking, and then I'm just gonna wait. So don't think you have to keep turning that. Once that happens, just kind of let it go. Kind of get some of that. Really, that's about it. So we're gonna go ahead and start turning it now. Okay, so there, it broke free. I'm still over my pan. I'm gonna turn it upside down. I also have in my oil drain pan this special pad. It's made by Lyle, and it keeps oil from splattering when it comes out of your drain pan. So I'll put links to all that in the description. So right now, I'll look under there and see that my base is clean, that it has no rubber ring left over from this, but I'm also going to visually check my old filter. You'll see our black ring is in place. I've never had a black ring separate and stick to the housing, but I hear that it's happened to somebody before. So you always want to test that, because if you leave it there and then you put your new filter on, it will leak because it won't have a good seal. So what we're going to do is take a rag. We're going to wipe this surface where our new filter is going to end up. I'm going to clean these threads. I'm going to wipe this whole area. This is a new shop rag. It's clean. I want to use a clean rag for this, because you don't want contaminants on your new filter. So now, even though it might drip a drop or more, I'm going to go ahead and carefully remove this plastic sheeting. Okay, so you can tell that our bar is clean. So that works for me. That's the method that I have chosen to go with, because it's worked for me. So I'm going to grab our new filter right now so that I don't have to worry about more drips coming from that area. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on. So on these, you just want them hand tightened. So you do not need the oil filter wrench to tighten these. So it's contacted the base, not going to leak anymore. I want to dry my glove off so I can get a little bit of a grip on there. So even though I don't want to use a tool, I do want to get it good and snug. So if your hands are sweaty, or you're using a sweaty glove or a glove with some oil like this, you know, you want to make sure you can get at least a good grip, and just give it a good hand tight like that. So look how clean that was. We didn't get one drop on that crossbar. So now what I'm going to do, so I can change my oil without making a mess of this, so I'm going to throw away this plastic sheeting that's all messy. Okay, so we got rid of our nasty tarp, and then I use this to take it to the recycle because they want your filter separated from the oil. So after I've let it sit for a little bit, I go ahead and just turn it up like that. So drop it in there, and then I'll take this to recycle. And then when I go to recycle, I don't have to touch anything. I can take that cap off, open the bin, dump it in there, and then put the cap back on. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to drain my oil. So what I do is I'm going to show you also the best way that I've found for this. So to break my the bolt free, I have a 3/8 inch extensible ratchet, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna need this little 3/8 extension, but I have a 17 millimeter socket. So all I'm gonna do is use this to break it free. As soon as it breaks free, I'm gonna stop using this. I'm gonna put a link in the description. I highly recommend you invest in this. It's a 17 millimeter magnetic socket. That's a magnet, and I'm gonna use this to take my drain bolt off, and the drain bolt will not fall in my drain pan. It'll stick to this. I'm also gonna use this Milwaukee 90-degree 3/8 inch ratchet. And so what I'll do once it's free is I'll use this to take it off. It keeps my hand away from the oil spilling out, and the bolt's gonna stick to that. So all I gotta do is take this out of the way. Might get a little bit of oil on the head, but that's easy to clean off. So I'm gonna get in position for that right now. Got everything I need. So you want to always anticipate on these drain bolts that face this way. That's the way the oil's coming. So I don't have to worry about it at first because I'm just breaking the torque free. I'm not going to get any oil right now. So I don't even need my drain pan in the way right now. So I do not need this extension. It's in the way of other things. So let me get rid of that. So just a 3/8 inch with 17 millimeter socket. That's all I have on there. Okay. So now that we broke that free, we're gonna get our pan in place. Try to get my plastic sheeting where it needs to be. Be ready for that stuff to come this way. Take a minute to get my magnetic ratchet on there. And there we go. So it keeps my hand out of the way, and it hangs on to the bolt. So then, because I get some oil on the head of the ratchet, I just let it hang over the drain pan. I grab my rag, and then I just kind of wrap it up. And then while that oil's draining, I can kind of clean up this right here, which I still like to have over the plastic sheeting. I'm going to wipe this really good. I find this ratchet is really nice to use once you break things free. Alright, so this is the standard Honda drain bolt, 17 millimeter. And then this crush washer that's on the bolt, you want to always make sure that comes off and that it's not stuck, or you'll have a leak when you put your new one on. So you always want to confirm that this crush washer came off. So you want to get that off of there. If you can't get one of these off very easily, that means it was over torqued by the previous person that put it on. So they should come off fairly easy. Just want to clean this bolt real well. And then we want to make sure that our pan gets moved back so that we don't miss anything. All right. Okay, so clean this up. This magnetic socket gets a little oily, obviously. Not gonna hurt it, you just don't want to leave it like that. So I'll just do my best to give it a clean. And this has really come in handy. It works on all Hondas, and I've found that it works on Hyundai Kia products as well. This 17 millimeter is a pretty standard oil drain bolt socket, so I'll put a link to that in the description. So I have my new crush washer on. I'm just going to take a rag and just wipe whatever little drip there might be, and just start hand tightening. Always start these things by hand, not with any kind of tool, just so you know you're going in straight and not cross threading. So I turn it a few turns, but on something like this it just takes a few more seconds. I just turn it till it contacts the base. And then what that also does is it'll stop all any kind of drips that you might have if you just hand turn it till it contacts the base. You could just snug this up, but I go ahead and use a torque wrench so that I know the crush washer is sealing properly, so I know it's tight enough and not too tight. So to me it's worth investing in, you know, the proper tools to do a job like this, because if you're going to care for your own vehicles, you want to do it right. Okay, so that's not much. It already clicked. I mean, 30 foot-pounds is not a lot when you're using a long-handled torque wrench. So you do that and you're like, boy, that really isn't a lot. I can see why people over-tighten when they guess. Okay, so from the bottom here, the oil change is done. Obviously, we will want to add oil. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up all my tools from underneath before I do anything else. Alright, this green funnel I'm using, you can use any funnel, but as I showed you at the beginning where this oil cap is down in there, you do need a good funnel that reaches down in, and also I like one with a good wide top so you don't spill when you pour it. So this is on the expensive side, but see, instead of being a cheap plastic, it's high quality rubber, and it's got a good handle on it, and the handle kind of catches in the right place so it's down in there. So I'll put links to all this in the description. You can certainly use a cheaper funnel. So this takes 5.7 quarts of oil. I already put 0.7, so now I gotta do is pour this 5 in. This is the first time I'm using Valvoline Premium Full Synthetic Restore and Protect. Been watching videos on this stuff. I've got 2 daughters with cars that have 150,000 and like 125,000, so that's what made me think about it. And I thought, well, studying up on it, it meets all the requirements, plus it keeps your engine like new, it says. So I'm gonna try it. 0W20 is what this calls for. So I'll be pouring in this entire 5-quart jug. Okay, so we'll let this jug empty, and then I will remove this funnel and put this cap back on. And I'll also, while I'm thinking about it, going to push in my dipstick all the way so it's seated. And then that way, when I go to start it up, the oil change is going to be 100% done when I put this cap on. I've changed the oil enough in these Honda V6s to know that you are good just doing exactly 5.7 like the owner's manual states. Never been overfilled or underfilled with that. What I'll do is I always run it for a little while, you know, after it's ran for even a few minutes. If you shut it off and let it sit for 10 minutes, you're gonna get an accurate oil level reading. So I always check it at some point soon just to make sure. All right, so now that we're done, we're gonna go into settings. I'm gonna go into vehicle. I wanna scroll down till I get to maintenance info. Oil life, I wanna do a reset. Would you like to reset maintenance information? Reset. Okay, maintenance information has been reset. So that's how you reset your oil life.